Okay, look, guys, the video you're about to watch is coming straight from inside Iran. Okay, it's inside the nation right now as we speak. I had an amazing guest who talked to me a lot about what's going on inside of the country and everything that's happening right now in real time. It's a good update. The video you're about to watch has a lot of technical difficulties that happened during it. It's really interesting, really crazy. So there were places where sound went out and came back, and there were places where video went out and came back because obviously with the internet blackouts and everything that's happened inside the country, plus a lot of other technical difficulties, and being all the way on the other side of the world, there were some technical difficulties with audio and video at different places. I had to cut it and edit it quite a bit, cut out most of the fixing everything, and edited a lot. So it feels a little faster paced probably in the beginning, and there's still a little bit of parts. There's some parts in there where you're going to see where it's like trying to fix audio and stuff like that. But I was able to salvage the majority of the interview and all the real points where everything that was said that needed to be said was said. So as you watch it, there will be parts, especially in the beginning or towards like the first 25 minutes maybe, where you're going to hear some audio issues and see some video issues. And we actually had to switch off of the original thing that we were recording on and go to a Zoom call. And that Zoom call, which is about the 25-minute mark, it's about an hour long. The audio is perfect there, but like the visual was weird. So like it cuts out and doesn't show me, and then it shows like a black screen when he talks. But it's still really good. Like, it's really good. So if you see something like that when you're watching the video, just know that it's momentary and it'll pop back in and it'll be okay. It's a really good video. Pay attention. It gives us a real good update of what's going on and what it feels like to be an Iranian inside of Iran during the real final battle, Iranian Revolution. History is in the making, and we're hearing from people inside the country in the middle of one of the most historic times, really the most historic time ever in the history of Iran. And most importantly, hear the voice of the people and what they're trying to say to the world when they've been trying to shut off so far from the world so far. So without further ado, here you go. All right, everybody. My guest here today on the show is also, just like the guest that we had before, is coming from inside the country, and they agreed to come on the show today. And just like before, they're not going to turn on their camera to conceal their identity for obvious reasons. So without further ado, how is it going?
It's going as good as it can. Honestly, the entire country is kind of in a state of grief right now. Everyone's just anxious. The whole city is dead, kind of. But yeah, that's how it's going. That's how the vibe of the inside of Iran is.
Really? So when you say dead, you mean like as opposed to how it's been before?
Yeah, like in both my hometown, which I'm in right now, and in Tehran, where I go to university, before all these protests and all that, and before they killed as many people as they did, it was much more lively. Like, we went out, we went in the streets. There were some people were sad, but then there were some people who were happy. They would joke around, do things. But now you go out. First of all, there's a lot less people. A lot of people are just staying home. And the people you don't see, you feel this, as if they're not happy anymore. It's a state of like everyone's grieving somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very dark state,
It is.
which is completely understandable because there's no way that it wouldn't be able to be that way with everything that's going on. So that answered a lot of questions that a lot of people wanted to know anyways, because people were wondering if the protests have gotten bigger or smaller, or if it feels like it's gaining momentum, or if it's staying the same, or whatever it is.
I'm sorry, you got cut off there, but can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
People were wondering if the momentum was getting bigger or if it was going down or if it was staying the same.
Well, there aren't really protests right now inside Iran because, they just massacred people. Basically, that's what they did.
Yeah.
So the protests themselves have kind of quieted down, but anybody you talk about, they're just in the mindset of, what are we going to do? Like everyone seems like they're waiting for like a something, if that's whether the US coming in, intervening militarily, helping us, there is something else. It feels like everyone's kind of waiting for something so that they can kind of finish the job.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that makes a lot of sense. It feels like, yeah, because they're just, I guess, playing it by gut feeling, maybe about feeling the shift of the atmosphere and trying to figure out exactly how you're supposed to move forward with that. Yeah, that's what I did. That's what, a lot of people hated. They didn't want to hear that because you want to see the momentum continue to go, but a lot of people also obviously expected it to be that way. So I still, of course, I still believe that the Ayatollah is going to be overthrown and everything's going to go the right direction, which is great. But I think it's really important that people hear that because people need to understand exactly how dire it is inside the country and how the people are feeling.
Yeah. Again, like that, like everyone's protesting right now because we all know if we go outside, we're just gonna get killed again. It's not gonna be any different. Like, yeah, they killed how many? Like, some people are even saying as high as 80,000 people in just less than a week.
Yeah.
Obviously, if nothing changes, we're not going to go out like for no reason. But if something happens, maybe if the army or even a part of the army of Iran comes to the side of the people, or maybe if the US helps us, and if something happens, from what I'm seeing, I feel like people are going to just like it's just like a snap. Just suddenly people are going to come out too, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, like when you say a snap, like could you elaborate on that? Like what do you mean by that?
And it's just something that would change. Like suddenly, like if again, like I said, if the army of Iran, like if a part of the army, we find out the news that a part of the army has come to the side of the people and they're giving weapons to the people, or at least using their weapons to help people, then the people are gonna come out. Like they're kind
Yeah.
of like waiting for something. I don't know. We have a saying for it in Persian. It's like the ash after a fire that hasn't really died down. Like it just needs a little light
Yeah.
to just start another fire again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all, yeah. The momentum and the revolutionary spirit is still inside of the hearts of the people, but it needs some kind of flame or flicker to really throw it into an explosion.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So yeah, and the thing is too, like I know that I believe that they said that guns and even knives are illegal for the people to have there. That's true.
there are some guns like it's like airsoft guns and some guns that are used for hunting. They're not really that effective, and most people don't have.
Yeah. So see, and that's one of the biggest problems because you can't. How are you supposed to organize like a militia that's not getting absolutely destroyed if they don't have the ability to defend themselves or go to war?
I absolutely agree. That's if we had weapons, this regime would have been gone actually years ago. Wouldn't even get to this point.
So I assume that everything that people have been talking about how bad it is, like killing the wounded and burning down hospitals and all that, that's very accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, that at least from what I'm hearing, that seems accurate. Killing the wounded hasn't happened in my town, at least not that I've heard of. They do things different region by region, like even internet connectivity. Like I'm connected right now, maybe another region isn't right now. It's all a little dependent, but I mean, it was kind of a surprise for us because of the scale, not because of the cruelty. Because we've seen the cruelty of this regime happen before in the previous protests, but to this scale, it just hasn't been done ever. In the protests of 8th and
Yeah.
9th of January, that there was the biggest part of the protests, like people were kind of starting to celebrate already because like we thought there's no way these guys can do anything with this population that we have, with this, this quantity of people. Nobody could have
Yeah.
imagined the scale they would kill people.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's exactly how it seems. That's how I feel kind of like it too. Like from a gut feeling or like a spirit perspective, it feels like that everybody was celebrating and it felt like it was already won, and then it was just like some weird kind of switch got flipped on there
Yeah,
real quick.
exactly.
But you said you guys weren't surprised by the cruelty, so they've just the scale of it. So I mean, I've always heard, I know that every time protests pop up in the country or whatever, I know that they just go through and they just start killing people, but I didn't know that they had always been so inhumane about it. Really?
I mean, they would do some inhumane things, like even, I don't remember which one of these mullahs said this a long time ago, like it was maybe too many 30 years ago, but he actually decreed that virgin women that were imprisoned and were in line for execution, that the soldiers should rape them so that they don't go to heaven. That's the kind of cruel
Yeah.
regime that we're dealing with here. That's just, I don't know, it's a whole other level. The fact that they started killing people in hospitals, it didn't really surprise us, but not in a way that it was in a way that we didn't think they would stoop this low.
Yeah. And yeah, I've heard those exact same things about women in prison and all that kind of stuff too. That is, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's just on another level. It's almost incomprehensible, really. That's the darkest part of humanity at any point in time in history ever. It's on the same par with Nazis or whatever else you could think of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like Nazis killed a lot more people, obviously, and it was, a lot of inhumane things they did as well. But I don't think in this short of a period, like in 2 days, in less than a week, killing 40,000 people, I think that's actually, yeah, since the Nazis nobody has ever done that.
Yeah, and that lasted for 4 or 5 years, and this has only been a few. How long has it been? Maybe a month and a half, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
about that.
Yeah, that's just, yeah. I thought the same thing too when I started hearing like all the reports that were coming out about that. I was like, that is just crazy, man. Like that is just really cruel, really evil.
Exactly. And yeah, that's why we're kind of in the state of, mourning as a entire nation. We're mourning the loss of all these people. Like pretty much everybody knows someone that was killed. I mean, like
Yeah,
myself, I know a friend from high school. I wasn't too close to him, but I know that I knew him, and now he's just dead, because of he was in the
yeah,
protest.
yeah. It's just, yeah, I don't think there's really words to describe how terrible it is, really, honestly.
I know it's just like inhumane. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they convinced themselves to do this. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, that's the biggest part about it for me too, as well, is I don't understand how I don't understand how, like you said, how they could convince themselves to do it. Like when I hear them saying that they're like targeting children, like intentionally just shooting 7-year-olds just to send a message to people, like that's insanity to me.
Exactly. And that's not how the people of Iran are. That's the saddest part. Like these guys they have this ideology that they will go to heaven or whatever, get, I don't know how many virgins in heaven or whatever. But that's just not how the Iranian people think. And that's just not our culture. It's just been forced upon us.
Yeah, and yeah, it's exactly that. Islam is a very strange religion to me. It's a very strange concept. I've never really understood it at all.
I don't
I,
really blame it on Islam itself. Like if you practice Islam, but the won't like hurt other people, don't force it on other people. And I know a lot of people like that in Iran. My own father, he still practices Islam. Like my own grandfather, my grandmother, they all practice, like they pray 5 times a day. They, fast during Ramadan. They do all that, but they don't if you don't. And that's totally fine. That's just a
yeah,
faith, you know. But those guys, they just
Yeah, that's totally.
take it to another level. It's like everybody should be Muslim and everybody should do this, do that. Sadly, that's just,
Yeah,
and they just make it worse for themselves. They keep doing this. People are going to think all Muslims are like that, and they're just not going to have a favorable view on Islam.
yeah, exactly that. That's the problem. It's the forcing everything on everybody else, becoming radicalized and creating and funding terrorist groups and screaming death to all infidels and
Exactly.
saying that you want to blatantly take over the entire world and force it to be a one world Islamic religion. That's the insanity that people are like, what is going on here? What is that? Like, we can't have any of that.
Exactly. And sadly, in the Muslim population of the world, you have some radical Christians, but they're like such a small proportion of the entire Christian population that it's not really seen as Christian. That's what Christians do. But sadly, in the Muslim
Yeah.
world, it's such a large percentage that think this way that it just affects everybody else. That's just gonna come as that's what Islam is, That's what
Yeah.
people are gonna think.
Do you feel like, what do you think causes that to be so much more specifically radicalized, specifically around Islam, than it seems to be around any other religion on the earth?
Actually, I think it's exactly the Islamic Republic's fault in Iran that this has happened to Islam. Like, if you go back,
They lose connection.
hi, do you have connection? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up and going in and out slightly. Like I catch words and then it goes out. Yeah, it's a connection issue.
Hi, can you hear me?
I don't know if you want to try to do the VPN settings again, or I think it left the session. Okay, guys, I'm going to give it a few minutes and try to see if he rejoins and see if he comes back in. We've been having connection issues because obviously it's all the way in Iran and that's on the other side of the planet. So sometimes connection issues like this happen from time to time.
Hi, I got disconnected. Can you
So
hear
just
me now?
popping back up in. Yeah, I can hear you better.
Sorry, what was your question? Right, you were asking me what I thought was the reason that Islam has gotten so radicalized.
It's still kind of popping in and out though.
Okay, let me check my VPN settings again. Sorry about that.
Says it's connecting. We had trouble like this on the last episode too. It went out a couple of times, but they were able to come back on, and then it went smoother after that. Being all the way across the world, obviously, like I was saying, also mixed with the internet
Hey,
blackouts and
Joshua,
everything there. Yeah.
can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it sounds a lot better now. Well, it did sound a lot better for like 15 seconds, but I don't hear anything anymore. It sounded a lot better for 15 seconds there, and then it just popped out again. Technical difficulty. Yeah, plus with the internet blackouts and everything, like I was saying, and the internet being in some places and not other places, how it is.
Hey, Josh, is the connection better now?
Yeah, when you first came back, it was really good for like 15 seconds, and then it just totally dropped. But I can sort of hear you right now, though.
That's good. The connections are all, they're good 1 second, they get, bad the next day. It fluctuates kind of.
It goes back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I lost my thought.
Maybe if I could, let's see. I don't know if that'll make a difference or not. Maybe.
Can you hear me now?
I think I hear you again.
Okay, what were we talking about? Sorry, completely lost.
I think you were saying that you thought that the reason why that Islam had such a population that was radicalized was directly because of the Islamic regime in Iran.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you look at most Muslim countries before, like the Islamic Revolution in Iran, sure, they were much more religious than Western countries, and they were kind of poorer than all Western countries, but they weren't this radical, at least from what I'm seeing from history. Alive back then, I wasn't even born. But this regime, they do say it, like they directly say this. They want to export their quote unquote revolution to other places. First, I think they started with the Arab world, like in Yemen, they started the Houthis. In Syria, they funded Bashar Assad's government in Palestine, they're funding Hamas right now, and in Lebanon, in Iraq, in all these Arab countries. There are some Arab countries that I think they couldn't infiltrate, like Saudi Arabia, like the Emirates, those countries. But if you look at all these other countries that have a large population of radicalized groups, then you can see they kind of, most of them at least, come back to the Islamic regime in Iran. They have this idea of they should be exporting their ideology.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they definitely do have a connection to the Islamic regime in Iran. That's for sure. And that's really interesting too, because I don't know that there's any other place in the Middle East that is totally intertwined with radical Islam in every single part of the region more than Iran is.
Exactly. Yeah, there was an interview with, there was this Jewish woman that actually kind of spied and went inside
I think we
the
lost you again.
IRGC. I think there's a bit of a delay.
I'm trying to think. Should we try to, I don't know, should we try to close out this session and then just restart it? Or
If you think that helps, that
maybe.
let's do that.
Let me see here. I think I'm gonna end it and then try to restart it and then send a new invite and see if the connection works better. And then in editing, I'll just have to edit out all the connection issues or whatever it is.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I think you were talking about how the Islamic regime is connected to all the radical terrorist organizations throughout the Middle East.
All of them, like the Taliban, I don't think they are that connected to them, but at least from what I'm seeing, the majority of them are. Like I'm saying, they actually say this in their if you listen to Khamenei's words when he gives these speeches, he is kind of talking about them. He's kind of talking about like exporting the revolution. For some reason, the West. Yeah, he always does, like not directly, but he always is speaking about it. But for some reason, the Western leaders don't listen that closely. Maybe they think I don't know, or maybe they are listening and they just waiting for a opportunity to act on it. It's just, I don't know what they're thinking.
Half of them are idiots, honestly. The people in the West, man, I don't know what it is. They have totally forgot everything that there is to know about freedom and being able to know what people are really all about. I don't know what it is. Because Europe has there's parts of Europe that are becoming almost as radical as radical Islam is in the Middle East.
Yeah, I know.
And in America too. It's very strange, really.
I'm
but
seeing
in the midst of all that,
especially in London.
Like you said, yeah, London is really bad. They've gotten crazy over there.
Yeah,
and it's I don't know. It's insane. And this going on right now with the Islamic regime, almost to me, it's almost kind of like a wake up call as well, not just to the people there, but to the whole world. It's kind of like, you guys need to really understand what you guys are dealing with right now, because there is absolutely nothing in the world that's going to stop you from being in the exact same position as them if you don't wake up and realize what radical Islam is really trying to do, what they're really trying to say, and what they're really trying to make happen. And if you don't take out the Ayatollah is the one that's helping promote that in your own world. So I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, the thing is, the 1979 revolution exactly started, not exactly, but there's a lot of similarities between that and what's happening in the West right now. Like the way that the 1979 revolution happened was that the three groups, we call them the three, I don't know, Fawcett, how you say that, the rotten. Oops, I don't know.
I think we lost the audio again.
I think the connection got lost again.
Yeah, it did.
I'm gonna continue with what I was saying. I was saying that what's happening in the West right now, it's actually kind of like deja vu for us in Iran. Like the way the 1979 revolution happened was that there were three main groups in that revolution. And let's be honest, it wasn't like for no reason. The Shah at the time was persecuting his opposition, his different opposition groups. He was kind of acting like a dictator, not at all from like how these people are acting, like way different. But he was kind of, suppressing his opposition, suppressing different groups. But what happened in 1979 was that there were three groups. That is the mullahs, the people who are running the country now, the leftists, like the Marxists. They were kind of trying to make Iran a communist country, which is just horrible. And the last one was the MEK. You call it in English. They have the acronym MEK. We call them
Yeah.
the Mujahideen. Those people, that's the only group that is worse than these mullahs. They're kind of like a combination of Islamists and communists. That's just you know the only thing that can be worse. And then
Yeah.
these groups and
They're a combination of Islam and communism.
right. And there were some actually nationalists in that group as well, and they all kind of, said, yeah, let's start a revolution, we'll build a republic, and then whoever gets the vote is gonna run the country. And that would have been absolutely fine. That would have been a pretty good thing, actually. But the thing is, as soon as the revolution actually happened, the mullahs kind of just took over everybody else, other groups that actually helped them make this revolution happen. First, they started like, saying, no, we're the people who should be leading the country, and they established the government. But that one thing that actually I think is being overlooked is the Iran-Iraq war that happened 1 year after the revolution. That kind of this infinite power. Everybody who was against them, they could just say no, they're the spies of the enemy or they're sympathizers with the enemy, and they would just execute them. And they kind of just executed all the leftists and all the MEK people, and they just solidified their power because of that war. So they kind of betrayed the leftists, actually. The fact that I'm seeing leftists in America and in the UK, Europe, whatever, they're kind of going towards
Yeah.
sympathizing with radical Muslims, it's just not a good combination. And it won't end well for the leftists themselves either.
That's interesting. I never knew that. That's very interesting. Yeah. So you're saying that the Iraqi war actually helped power the MEK? Is that what you're saying?
Not the MEK, the mullahs, the people who are running the government. The MEK was kind of trying to step them aside and take power for themselves, and the leftists were trying to do the same. But the mullahs, the Islamic regime, had an excuse to, you know, kill anybody who wasn't agreeing with them. They would just say, no, they spied for the enemy, they did this, they did that. It was war, that in war they say that these people were spies and they just execute them. It was that simple for them.
So yeah, I can hear you a lot better. So, anyways, I think you were talking about how there were three groups of people that were involved in the regime, and you were talking about the Iranian Iraqi war and MEK and the Marxists and all of that.
Yeah, there were actually more than three groups, like some nationalists, some conservatives were actually involved. Like they wanted a revolution too. They wanted like a better democracy because we didn't really have a great democracy system. Like we had some democracy, some parts of a democracy, but not completely. But yeah, those three were the main three that we still kind of blame for it.
Yeah, you blame specifically the mullahs, the MEK. Is that what you said?
Yeah. The MEK, they're a really weird group. Like, if you watch their videos from their like ceremonies and things, like they kind of act like a cult,
Mm.
like the Jim Jones type of thing.
Really?
They- yeah, they pledged their uh, allegiance to their leader. The guy was a man whose name was Masoud Rajavi, and Then later, his wife, he uh, took one of the women of the group to his wife. Her name is Maryam Rajavi. She's the leader now, and they're a weird group. They kind of Islamic, but not as Islamic as this regime is right now. But they're kind of also Marxist. And
Yeah.
again, it's a weird combination. And again, they're act like a cult. It's really a weird group, and they had a lot of power. I don't really know why, where their money came from. But yeah, they had a lot of power back then. They're really basically non-existent now. They have like they show up every now and then, even with the protests that are happening around the world. They show up, but like yeah, there's 100,000 Iranians waving the lion and sun flag, and then there's 20 MEK people just
Yeah,
standing
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, they're really non-existent now. Uh, but yeah, so but back then they were still a powerful group. You know, they basically were one of the three groups that did the revolution. And again, after the revolution, uh, Khomeini, what he did was like, yeah, I'm just gonna be the supreme leader. There's gonna be like some president, some other guys, but they're gonna be all underneath me. And obviously, the MEK, the Marxists, and all the other groups, they didn't like that. Uh, and they were actually trying to, they were going around telling people, no, this Khomeini guy, he's bad news. He's not going to bring freedom. They were kind of starting to convince people that, yeah, the fact that he took over the revolution is not a good thing. But then the Iraq Iran war happened. And that kind of gave the Islamic regime a kind of a perfect excuse to, just execute anybody they didn't like, anybody who was working against them. And yeah, they executed a lot of the MEK, a lot of Marxists, a lot of nationalists, and all these different groups. Uh, that really helped them uh, solidify their power back then, the war. So that's how it happened, kind of. Uh, Maybe if the war hadn't happened, some other group would be in charge of Iran right now. Who knows?
That's really interesting. Because I was just like, I just started learning about the MEK and how the Marxists were tied to them, sort of, and how they were a mixture with Islam and all that, and how they had to do with the Shah.
Yeah.
I was just really starting to learn about that. So, like, you saying all that is really interesting to me. There's a lot of history there that I'm trying to learn more about. So, yeah, that's really interesting. I knew that they had, like, I had heard that they helped overthrow the Shah, and then they had been like they were at odds with the Ayatollah, and then they wound up going to Iraq, and then they were with Saddam Hussein for a little bit or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. They basically just betrayed the Iranian people altogether after that. Like, again, the Ayatollah started killing some of their members, and they, instead of they like fleeing Iran and helping free Iran, they just went to Saddam and killed Iranians. That's that's a betrayal, basically.
Yeah, and
So
they were
nobody really
who?
likes them. Like,
Yeah, and who are they though? Like, are they were from another country, or they're not Iranian themselves?
no, they are Iranian, but they don't really take pride in being Iranian. Again, like the Islamic regime that is running Iran right now, they are technically Iranian. They were born in Iran, Iranian parents, but like if you ask them, they don't care about being Iranian. That's one of the main problems. Like they care much more about spreading Islam or, making people follow the laws of Islam than they do care about the prosperity of Iran.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a common theme that I've seen too, because I remember I saw someone share a quote or something from the Ayatollah where he literally said, if Iran falls, that's fine, just as long as Islam doesn't fall.
Exactly. That's how they think.
Yeah, that's pretty insane, isn't it? To especially if you're the ruler of a nation, like that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And
That's
that's,
cult-like behavior.
yeah. Uh, there's actually a great interview. There was this woman, a French Jewish woman, uh, who kind of infiltrated the Islamic Republic as like they thought they had her brainwashed her as like a Muslim, and she was writing like articles for them in their propaganda websites and stuff, and she kind of infiltrated them, and because they thought they had her, like they had brainwashed her. There's a great interview with her, and she says like she met the previous president of Iran, Raisi, and she also met Khamenei, and she was saying, yeah, they really don't care about Iran. All of them have this idea that the Islamic Revolution, it was just like random chance that it happened in Iran. Like if it had happened any other country, they would have been, you know, just the same, like the same to them. It would have had no difference to them.
Yeah. So I guess
I'll
what you're
actually,
saying,
yeah, I'll send you the link to their interview with her. It's really good. If you, it's a little long,
yeah.
but if you have the time, it's a good one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Because like so it sounds like what you're saying, like what seems to be the core problem is that there seems to be a misloyalty from nation or heritage or people to uh, radical ideology.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
really,
exactly. Like when Islam is more important to you, if the people of Iran say, no, we don't want Islam anymore, we don't want to wear a hijab, then you're not going to listen to them, because it doesn't matter what the people of Iran want, it just matters what Islam wants.
yeah, that's really. So, what do you think, like, in your opinion, what do you think causes people to become so radicalized like that?
I honestly, I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess um, when I was going to school, they were saying all these things, like they were kind of nudging small children to become radical, but they wouldn't say them out loud in the books, they were just, Islam is good, Islam is blah, blah, blah. But they couldn't like say it very like plainly, because then the parents, because again, like I said, the culture of Iran is not that. And if they did say that like plain as day, parents wouldn't just send their kids to school. They would just say, yeah, that's all not really how we think. Like right now, we do think that about the school and what they're teaching people in school, but at least it's not too radical.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how people get that much radical. I really don't.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is like inside of the schools, they intentionally they know themselves that they can't get too radical with it because they know that the parents would rebel against that. That's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because like I'll give you an example. Like in their school books, like the school books that are about like Islam and social, behavior and stuff like that. Uh, they they would say, yeah, Islam has different rules about men and women, but it's not one above the other. Like they would say it like that. Like, yeah, we have these rules for women, we have these rules for men, but they're equals but different rules, you know? That's how they would teach it. But if you really listen to them, if you look at the laws of they are implementing inside Iran, you'd see no, they don't see women as equal to men. They do see them
Yeah.
different and inferior. Like one of the laws I can think of right now, uh, when somebody dies, like if your father dies and they want to, how do you say it? Like the wealth, they want to distribute them between the children. What do you have a word for it? I don't remember it. Um, the boys, the sons of that person get twice as much as the daughters. That's just one example. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, they would teach you in school, like, yeah, that's how they put it. I can remember that, like, that was part of the things they taught us at school. But you can see that that's not how they think. They think much more radical than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they get women get killed for showing their hair.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's insane, really.
Yeah, and again, I've seen some videos in like Instagram and stuff like that, that foreigners would show pictures of Iran with women have their hair out and they're not wearing a hijab, and they say, no, you see, those are all lies. But that's the thing. Uh, After the Mahsa Amini protest, they don't have the guts to, be as strict as before them. They don't want to make the whole Mahsa Amini protest start again. So they kind of gave you the freedom. No, still in the laws you have to wear your hijab, but they kind of giving people freedom. But like any second that could change. They could just flip and go arrest everybody who's showing hair.
That's really interesting, isn't it? So they
Yeah.
know, but that also shows too that they themselves they know that there's a limit to how far they could push it before people are going to rebel.
Oh, absolutely. They are afraid of people. Like again, if they weren't afraid of people, they wouldn't be killing this much.
Mm,
It's their absolute worst fear. The people of Iran somehow overthrowing them.
mm. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, they're really just a bunch of cowards, aren't they?
exactly. They are.
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to realize that too, because, and I mean, people do realize that kind of instinctively, but I think it's important to make sure that that's always the main narrative. Like because obviously the reason why the Ayatollah and all that and the IRGC have been so cruel and so hardcore is because they're trying to break the spirit of the people and intimidate them to a point where they just stop. They just quit fighting and they don't want to fight anymore. So I think
Yeah.
it's understandable that there would be a mourning and a layer of waiting to see something happen. But on top of that, I think it's necessary for people to understand that the people are the hunters and not the hunted. They're the ones that are on the tail of the Ayatollahs, not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, exactly what you said. It's like a defense mechanism for them. Like, the people are absolutely, they are overthrowing this regime, and this killing is kind of a response to that, not the other way
Mm,
around. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's very important for people to realize. And I also think, but I think the people inside the country, they kind of already feel that though. It's like, it's just something inside of them that they know, yeah?
Yeah, they do. Uh, they really do know that they have the power. We have the power to, overthrow this government, but we can't do it with sticks and stones. That's because that's
Mhm.
exactly what we're fighting with. People are throwing stones. They're beating them with like sticks they're finding on the ground. But they have like machine guns. They literally brought machine guns. I saw a video of that they were gunning people down with a machine gun. That's just not something you do, you know?
And and is it also true? Do you know it's true that they have gotten like mercenaries from outside of the country, like from Iraq and other places?
Yeah, I've heard that too. Like, I do believe it because they kind of did the same thing with the Masa Amini protests, but on a much lower scale. But I can't like say absolutely for sure I know it. That's just what I'm hearing, and I do believe it.
Hmm. But that would also imply that they don't have the numbers to control everybody, right?
Uh, I think they do have the numbers, but they don't, like, with the Iranian soldiers, they're not just gonna gun down their own people, at least
Hmm.
some of them, most of them.
Hmm.
But if you bring soldiers from another country who are extremely radicalized and, believe that if they shoot down these people, they're gonna go to heaven, that's going to be easier, for them to
Yeah.
shoot down these people that they don't even speak the same language. They don't,
Yeah,
because
makes
we speak Persian. They
that
don't.
makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot of sense actually. And I've heard, do you know, like, have you heard any other countries besides Iraq? I think I heard some people say that they even had like Palestinian
Yeah.
people there.
I hadn't heard Palestine, but I heard from the groups that their names are Fatimiyun and the Zainabiyun. Those are from Afghanistan and Pakistan, I think.
Hmm.
That's the ones I heard.
Yeah, I remember here in Afghanistan. That's really intriguing. Are those mercenaries, are they members of like radical terrorist groups?
Yeah, yeah. So in Iraq, the group they are bringing from are the Hashd al-Shaabi. Those are like a radical terrorist group. Same with the Afghans and the Pakistanis. There are also some radical groups, uh, like kind of like ISIS.
Like as bad as ISIS.
I'm not too sure on that. Like that, I can't really say.
So, yeah, that's all really interesting, actually. But what was I gonna say? I just had it in my head and I forgot it. Mm, I don't know. It'll come back to me at some point.
Yeah.
But anyways, um, is there like I heard from somebody else, like the last person I talked to, they told me that like it's typical that like protests don't happen during the day. Like everybody during the day lives their normal life and they wait until the nighttime before they start protests. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true because it's harder to identify people in the night, and people some people still have to work, they have families to feed.
Mm-hmm.
So usually they start, around uh, when the sun's starting to go down in the afternoon. That's when they start the protests.
Hmm. That's really interesting. That, I mean, that's such a dichotomy where you act normal all day and then all night it's set. I mean, I guess that's how you'd have to do it though, but it seems really interesting.
Yeah, it is like you you just kind of have to, live your normal life because if you
Mm.
have a wife with kids, you can't really just not work. So
Yeah.
I think that's why most people are protesting during the night. And also, usually, the dark is a better cover, so that's when it starts, and somehow by the morning it kind of fades.
Hmm. That is really interesting, man. But you said that everybody in the country knows somebody that's died, essentially. Like that's how widespread that it is.
Yeah. Basically, it is like, you know, 30,000 people. That's a lot of people, like way too much. I don't know even
Hmm.
how to start. Like, uh, how many people was it that, like, maybe 4 or 5 people in my university have been arrested? Not, I don't know about the deaths, but I at least know 4 or 5 people in my university where I'm studying that have been arrested for the protests. It's it's just not a normal thing.
No, that's not normal at all. And do you think, like, do you think that they're only killing protesters, or do you feel like they're just kind of maybe even just picking people at random as well?
Listen, I think they start killing protesters, but if somebody's just nearby, like if somebody's just going home from work or something like that, they don't care at all. Like
Yeah.
if you're just a bystander, maybe you're just shopping, getting groceries, going home. I've heard a lot of stories actually of people dying this way. Like, yeah, the guy was just getting groceries for his for the family, like they have to make dinner or whatever, and he just got killed for absolutely no reason. That happens too, but absolutely, it's mostly protesters.
Yeah. And targeting children, man, that's just crazy to me. To me, that just throws me off, really.
It's kind of like they don't really care. Like there was this kid, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10, kind of uh, showed his videos everywhere. Maybe 9 or 10, but he was in the car with his parents, and they were just going home. Like you don't take a 9-year-old, 10-year-old to a protest. They were in the car, and somebody just stopped. This was in the Mahsa Amini protest time, actually. Uh, they just stopped them, and they said, no, you shouldn't go this way. And the guy was just talking, like saying, "Yeah, no, we were just going home, we're not part of the protest, whatever." And then they just shot them all down, shot them inside their car. And then this kid, like, again, 9 or 10, that's not a protester. There's no way in hell that a 10-year-old kid is protesting a regime change.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and that's why that takes me back so hard because it's no kids are not out there in the streets screaming and shouting and doing anything. They're just
Yeah,
there. They just walking by.
exactly.
And
I don't
and
know, maybe it's just because they, I don't know, started shooting at random, that they killed kids. Maybe I'm just hoping that that's what it is, and they didn't actually target children specifically. But still, the death of any child is just tragic.
Mm. And I've been hearing a lot about like a lot of injured people too. Like people talk about the death so much, but there's almost like 4 times as many people that have been injured severely as well,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime there's like deaths, there's absolutely gonna be like multiple times that of injured people, because maybe some people get shot in the head or the chest, but a lot of people are getting shot in their arm, their leg, some or whatever other place that might not be just fatal.
Mm.
So, and by the way, they actually started shooting with pellets. I don't know what you say it like, we say such in Persian, but kind of like fake bullets, like small plastic bullets. That's actually how
Yeah,
they started shooting people, but they couldn't control the people, and they just changed it to normal
live and
war bullets.
mm.
Yeah, so a lot of injured people are because of that, because they actually started with those non-lethal bullets, but then just started shooting everybody with the kind of weapons you use in a war.
And I've heard that they use, are they using like chemical, they're using chemical weapons?
I heard some things about it, but yeah, none of the things I heard about it were like from credible sources, or they didn't have a lot of things that would back them up. I wouldn't put it past them. Like, these are cruel, cruel people, but I can't say for sure. Like, again, the things I've seen from using chemical weapons were from non-credible sources. So I'm not gonna say
Mm.
they did or didn't.
Um, and have they been, is it true that they've been targeting people's eyes a lot?
Oh yeah, the again with the protests in the 8th and 9th, uh, again, Khamenei just kind of uh, put a order out there that shoot them to kill, shoot to kill, don't shoot to injure anymore, because those protests were just getting so big and so threatening to them. But yeah, when he gave that order, a lot of people are getting shot in the eyes and the face, because they were aiming for that. They were just shooting to kill, not shooting to injure anymore.
So now the intent is to kill.
Yeah, in the 8th and 9th protests, those 2 nights that, again, everyone's saying that most of the deaths are because of those 2 nights. That's protests got so big that they just started to kill, just shooting to kill.
Hmm. So, so what do you feel um, like, what do you feel like the people in the country, what do you feel like that they need or something that could give them hope or cause them to r- get back into the spark of the fight?
The thing is, the people, we've kind of figured out, everybody now knows this, that we can't fight these guys unless we have some kind of support. Now, again, that can be somehow giving weapons to the people. If people can get access to the weapons, they're absolutely 100% going to the streets with weapons. So maybe the Iranian army, the army is actually separate from the IRGC. It's a confusing system. um, maybe a part of the army goes to help the people, that could spark something that, yeah, again, so people have guns, so at least, or some allies with guns, so that would really uh, motivate people to go to the streets. But the most likely thing, I think, is the US striking some of the, um, the IRGC's posts where they're uh, killing people and weakening the IRGC. That, again, if that happens, I have no doubt, like, and maybe if the crown prince, the Pahlavi, uh, tells people to go out because this happened, because something happened, people are absolutely going to go out, because there's actually a lot of people who've lost all their children, or lost their parents, or lost somebody so close to them. If those people are absolutely going to want revenge.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard some horrific stories about people losing almost everybody that they know. They'll go out there and then their sister will die, and then they go out there the next night and their cousin dies, and then they're the last one left, and that's why they keep going out there anyways. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, in sometimes, like, most of an entire family just dies in one night. That's And the people who are left, like maybe one or two people are left in that family, they're not gonna have anything. You can't, like, do anything to stop them from going out in the streets.
Hmm. I think I don't understand. Like, I feel like the people in the country, how do they feel about the UN and the nations of the world just sitting back and watching everything that's going on?
We're just like, yeah, we've seen this before, with the Massa
Hmm.
Amini, the UN condemning them. It's like nothing. It does, you know, absolutely nothing. The one thing I will say that has given people hope is the uh, European Union putting the IRGC in a terrorist list, because that actually does help, at least, if not immediately, maybe long term, because
Hmm.
that most of their money is kind of indirectly coming from Europe. Like, they can't just
Mm.
produce money out of nowhere. They have to feed their soldiers. They have to give them something, and that just accelerates that they're gonna go bankrupt. And when they go bankrupt, they can't give any money to their soldiers, and then they're not gonna have anybody fighting for them. uh,
Hmm.
that that one is actually something we were kind of happy about, because that does affect them. And yeah, again, the when Donald Trump said that he was going to help protesters, that really gave people hope, but it hasn't come yet.
Hmm.
uh, they're negotiating or something, but yeah, I still don't think they have much to negotiate about. And at least from what I'm seeing, I think mm, some kind of military attack, or some kind of military thing from the US might happen, and that actually gives a lot of people hope. But yeah, right now they're negotiating. I don't know about what they're not saying.
Yeah, negotiating. I don't think there's no way you can negotiate really with these people in the world in the first place, because these people are nutcases. They're crazy. There's no
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
There's nothing to talk about to them. But that's why I kind of feel like personally that I think that Donald Trump and his regime, his administration, they understand that at the core depths of themselves. So to me, and what I feel like, and like Goldie Gamari and Bridget Gabriel and others have said, that it's really just political theater, and Trump's trying to get the Ayatollah in this false sense of security to where he thinks that he's gonna have a shot at staying where he is, and then they're waiting for a weakening or an opening or something to strike him, or something to that effect. I just can't help but shake the fact that that's what it is, because I just, knowing what I know about American politics and Trump and the way that Trump thinks and the way that things pan out, I don't. It doesn't. It just doesn't. The official narrative or story. It doesn't. It just doesn't feel like, gut feelingly. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel like that's really what it is. Yeah.
exactly. That's how I feel too. Like, yeah, like what exactly are you hoping the Islamic regime is gonna give you? Like all their uranium and all their missiles, they're not gonna do that because as soon as they give them all, their missiles, their uh, uranium, it's just a shell of the previous regime because, right now this regime does still have actually a lot of supporters. Like some of them have been brainwashed again, like like I said, they start kind of the brainwashing process in schools, but a small percentage go much further and get actually completely brainwashed. But then to those people that you've been all this time, like all these years, you've been saying that America can't do anything and that nuclear program is you know not something we're just going to give up, and you've been saying these things to those people that you've brainwashed, but then if you suddenly give up all of your uranium, all of your missiles to the US, you're just going to lose them too, so then you're just going to have nothing. And I don't think that's something that, again, like you said, it's probably just the theatrics that they have to go through with the negotiations, and they say that it didn't work, but that's how I feel too. But yeah, I don't think there's anything to be gained from this negotiating with these people.
Yeah. They have to be. I mean, it's just too obvious. They have to be removed and thrown away and never allowed to come back into the country or anywhere else ever again.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And I'm seeing like a lot of people compare it to like Libya and Iraq, and what there was another place like Afghanistan where the US got involved militarily, but I actually don't think that's a well, first of all, like when you're comparing it to Iraq, uh, Iraq is 100% better off right now. It is absolutely in shambles, but it is better off than it was in the rule of Saddam Hussein. But that's one thing, and the other thing is that that's not really a fair comparison, I think, because the Iranian people, we have Western style values, like not completely Western, but most of people want like a secular democracy, a secular government, a you know free market where they can just uh, innovate for and make their own companies. And well, when you're talking about Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya, the people there didn't really have that, So I think that's a major difference that some people are comparing it to them, comparing Iran to those countries, but I think that's wrong.
yeah, I agree with that 100%. I made a whole video talking about that because that's exactly how I feel too. Like, the point is, with all of those countries, and a lot of those countries, the people that were also in charge of trying to rebel were also pretty close to radical Islam as well. So it was more like you were just
Exactly.
getting rid of one radical Islamic regime for another one. When in
Yeah.
Iran, it's like you're trying to get the people that are rebelling against radical theocracy are not radical Islamists. And you didn't see people throwing up American flags and Israeli flags and all this inside of those either. It's a completely, totally different situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, something else that's different. We have actually an opposition leader with the Crown Prince, the Reza Pahlavi. Uh, that's actually something none of those countries had either. And you know, I don't know how much you're familiar with him, but he's like proven himself time and again that he doesn't actually want power. He just wants prosperity for Iran and democracy. And you know, with all the previous protests that were happening in Iran, like we have had a lot of protests, but you know, we never had a leader like Pahlavi. Like he was always there, but the people said no, we don't want to go to monarchy either. But now people are realizing that yeah, they're watching all his previous interviews, they're watching all of his you know, different things he's saying about what he wants Iran to be. And like me myself, actually, like I wasn't that much of a fan of him back in the 2022, I think was the Mahsa Amini protests. Uh, but the thing that changed my mind was he actually he has this organization that uh, with different people, and they put together a complete comprehensive plan of action uh, for what they're going to do after the regime falls, like for a year or two before the an actual democracy takes place. And I read that like there it touches on different things like you know, the education system, what are we going to do to, you know, take away this indoctrination, these brainwashing things that they're teaching our children. They had this with the economy, what are we going to do so to, you know, attract capital from outside the country. And they had it with, you know, the environment, the I don't know, the petroleum sector, you know, the oil, that's a big part of Iran's economy. Uh, and that was a part of it. And the other part was, how are we going to get to a democracy, you know? Uh, so, and it was actually a really good plan. Like if I want to summarize it, it was like, yeah, we're going to put up a referendum that people can vote whether they want uh, a presidential republic like you guys have in the US, or you know, in France, or a parliamentary republic like that of Germany, or a constitutional monarchy like you know, the England or Sweden or something like that. And he said, yeah, we're going to put it to the people what kind of democracy they want, and then they're going to write the what do you call it, like the constitution for the whatever type of thing people choose, and then that is going to go to a referendum again. Like people have to vote both on what type of democracy they want and then on the constitution as well. So, and then in the meanwhile, he's going to manage all the different parts, and he's some teams that he's gathered in all these years, they're going to manage these different parts of the Iran, so the country doesn't go to mayhem. So that was actually what changed my mind. I think it was after the 12-day war that him and his team put that out, I think. And that's actually what changed my mind. I read that, at least most of it. Like, I think it was 200, 300 pages. I read most of that, and that changed my mind. And I think that had a big effect on the people of Iran. Like, nobody has done that. Nobody has like said, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. That's how we're going to control the mayhem, the chaos, how to prevent it. Like, at least he has a plan. Like, yeah, obviously there are some problems with it, but you know, the core part of that is a good thing. That's why we're chanting his name in the streets, and that's why, you know, when people outside of Iran say, we should talk about other opposition leader, you see the people, most of the Iranian people outside of the Iran are saying no. The people in Iran chanted his name, so that's who we're gonna, support. That's who we're gonna back to go to different places in the world. He met with Senator Graham, and that was actually really exciting for us, the people inside Iran, uh, because we're getting some, validation. And I mean, that's why we accept him as an opposition leader, and that's why I think one of other reasons that Iran won't end up like those other countries, that they didn't really have that. They didn't have a plan to
Yeah.
prevent us after the regime fell.
Hmm.
But you know, there is actually a plan here. Maybe some problems are gonna arise after it does, but it does actually fall. Some problems, some unpredictable problems might happen, but the core thing has a plan. The core plan is in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. Those other countries had absolutely no structure at all whatsoever for what they would do afterwards. That is a major difference too. I like the Shah as well because when I heard him when he spoke that one message and he spoke in English because he was talking to the whole world and he was talking about his like foreign affair and international plans, and he said that he would condemn Sharia law and he would recognize Israel and he would rec, uh, restore the relationship with the United States and he would end the nuclear program and he would help fight radical Islam. I'm like, that sounds perfect to me, man. Like, I mean, that's amazing because to even have the capacity, because living in the United States of America, the Islamic regime in Iran has always been like, that's the number one bad guy. Like, that's the number one enemy in the Middle East. So to even imagine a world where Iran is an ally and a friend is crazy, right? Like, that's a whole nother world. So,
Yeah, that's actually how it was before the 1979
yeah,
revolution. That's, we were
yeah,
friends with Israel, we were friends with the US, we were prosperous country, by the way. Like, I don't know if you probably like you weren't born back then, but few years before the revolution, uh, the previous Shah actually, his father, the father of the prince, he threw out these lavish parties that invited the entire world leaders. Like, I think the vice president of the US at the time was there, like kings and queens and princes and you know different people from different countries were there. And yeah, that was to show that Iran was a prosperous country. You can come to Iran, you can enjoy it as a tourist destination. And it was working, that.
yeah,
But then the revolution, kind of messed it up. And yeah, it was absolutely a prosperous country, and it was, we were good with different countries. We were allies with the US, but we weren't like absolutely Western. Like, we had trades with China and back then the Soviets too, but we were mostly an ally to the USA and the Western countries. But yeah, that
yeah.
kind of just they kind of dismantled on that all of that after they came these Islamists.
Yeah, I think that's a sad lesson that the world had to learn, really, with Iran and also like um, many other countries in the Middle East too. That were some of them were Christian countries, some of them were others, all sorts of different stuff that were taken over by super radical Islamic theocracies, and it's only ever brought
Yeah,
insanity like that. But if there's anything good that comes out of it at all, it's that there's a warning to the whole world that we cannot let this stuff happen again. Once we get rid of it, we can't let
exactly.
it back in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if the United States actually does what uh, President Trump said they would do, and helps us overthrow this regime, I think in like the few years after, maybe like a decade, you're gonna see a lot of this Islamist, like radical Islamist groups kind of lose their power because, like I said, I the majority of them are getting all of their money from the Islamic Republic, you know?
And the Islamic Republic gets their money from what? Oh, I'm guessing oil. Yeah.
Yeah, they control Iran, so they kind of just taking all of Iran's oil, which is like a lot, like one of the top,
Mhm.
I don't know, five countries with the most oil and gas. They're taking all of that, and because of the sanctions, they're just, selling it, I don't know, for the half the price to China and Russia. So, and even that, like half the price, that isn't coming to us, the people of Iran. Like that's
Yeah.
actually one other thing that I've seen some people are saying in the West, like, yeah, the US is just gonna take your oil. Yet these guys are already taking our oil. Like
Mm.
they're not giving any profit to us. They're just taking our oil, they're selling it to China, and they're giving all of the profits to, Hezbollah or Hamas, this
Hmm.
terrorist organization.
That's really, I mean, that's really what it is. It's like a big money laundering scheme. That's why I didn't like Obama either. And a lot of people in the US that don't like Obama for that reason as well, is because it felt like he was helping with that too, with the Iranian nuclear deal. It felt like he was just throwing money at the Islamic
Yeah,
regime
yeah,
and they would just take that and throw it back to the radical. And that's how ISIS came around and all that. It's crazy.
yeah. Actually, the thing is, I've lived through those times. Back then, people were actually hopeful for the deal. I don't remember the name, the nuclear deal with the USA, because, the sanctions, when they got lifted, there was a bit of, economic, how do you say it, like improvement in the economy
Hmm.
of Iran. So back then, actually, people wanted that in Iran. But since then, we figured out that, yeah, no, it doesn't matter how many sanctions you lift or how many you put, they're just gonna take it all. You might see like a tiny bit of improvement, but that's really
Yeah.
not how,
It's like that's
not
just
worth it.
is the government's money instead of the people's money.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, well, I think that I guess we've been on here for a little while, so I guess I'm going to start winding it down. But I would like to do this again because we had such a mess up in the first, like, however 30 minutes or whatever it was. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we could do this again another time and find another time if you're free. But
Yeah, sure.
we also got a lot of good stuff in there too though. So I was gonna say as a final thing, like for everybody that's watching that's outside of the country and everybody that's trying to that what they really need to hear about what's going inside in the current state of the revolution and the current state of everybody in there. If you could just give them like a progress report of what the people are actually feeling, what you think is the most important thing for them to hear, and then what you would say to them and what you would say to like Trump and world leaders and stuff like that.
Well, First thing is that we don't want a deal. Like the time for a deal has passed like years ago. So that's the first thing. So these negotiations are just, useless. And the other thing I would like to say is that, paying more attention to Reza Pahlavi. He's the person we've chosen as our leader. Like, I see a lot of people in the West, you know, debating about who's going to lead Iran, or what group is going. We've already chosen. It's going to be Pahlavi. And, you know, the fact that you're just walking around that, it's not helping anybody. It's just a waste of time. And yeah, that's it. I hope I see you in Tehran someday.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like as soon as the Ayatollah gets thrown over, and as soon as the democracy gets set up and everything, I'm absolutely going to go to Tehran because I just never thought that ever since the revolution and everything, you just think to yourself, an American inside of Iran, that's never going to happen unless you want to die. But
Yeah.
so they're going to overthrow the whole thing. And I saw some of the beautiful pictures and videos inside of there and how beautiful like some of the land is in there. Like there's some beautiful, gorgeous scenery
Absolutely.
they have in there.
It's a country with 7,000 years of history. And a lot of natural beauty. You can absolutely come here. We will give you a tour of the entire country. It's going to be
Yeah.
great.
It will be great, really, honestly. I can't wait to see a free Iran, man. That's really what I'm waiting for because I know it's going to be magnificent when it comes. And I'm still 100% absolutely convinced that it is coming. And this is now the time for the Ayatollah to be thrown over. And just like they say in the streets, it's the final battle. I'm really convinced that it actually is.
Yeah, hopefully. All right.
I
It was a
believe
pleasure
so.
talking to you, man.
You too. I'll stay in contact with you, and you know how to stay in contact with me, and we'll figure out something else in the future as
Absolutely.
well.
All right. Well,
All right.
see you.
I'll see you.